Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Blasphemers Bible, where we get into how stupid God is today, anyway.
No. Don't be reductionist. He's not just stupid. He's also malicious, controlling, and psychopathic.
And at any moment, Samuel L. Jackson will reveal that he has an actual IQ of 96. Because that's
a
what
little
happened
high for God. Oh God, yeah. Trump doesn't have an IQ.
Yeah, well, if you're not familiar with that joke, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson looked up and found a public record from his military school where Trump's IQ was 96.
Yeah, I'm surprised he got that high. Honestly, I really am.
Barely average. Is that
not even average?
Yeah.
No, just
average is 100.
Barely average. By definition.
Right. So, but no, I think today we're gonna have a lot of fun because
I think so.
this chapter is the thing is, like, there are a lot of references that I'm sure Aaron is gonna have a great time with, but this is filled with so much cool stuff. Like, I feel like there are more references than, like, if you just read this in English and like don't know anything about the context of the area or the context of the mythology surrounding the area, you're not going to get as much from this. But if you do have that context, which we will provide for you because that's what we do on this show, this chapter gets a lot cooler. It's just packed with so much cool stuff. So I am excited that we'll be getting into this. But yeah, God's here finally. Finally decided to show up for work. So good to see him.
Took him long enough.
Right, yeah. It's like only one of your most loyal servants is going through a hell of a time, and all of his friends are saying he surely he deserved it or something. Like, I don't know. So he's not going through a good time.
Let's have a pile on.
All right. If we're okay, then I will begin. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall declare to me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the heavenly beings shouted for joy? Or who shut the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed bounds for it, and set bars and doors, and said, thus far you shall come, and no further. And here shall your proud waves be stopped. Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, so that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth, and the wicked should be shaken off of it? It is changed like clay under a seal, and it's dyed like a garment. Light is withheld from the wicked, and the uplifted arm is broken. Have you entered into the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Or have you seen the gates of deep darkness? Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare if you know all this. Where is the way to the dwelling of light, and where is the place of darkness, that you may take it to its territory, and that you may discern the paths to its home? Surely you know, for you were born then, and the number of your days is so great. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow? Or have you seen the storehouses of the hail, which I have reserved for times of trouble, for the day of battle and war? What is the way to the place where the light is distributed, or where the east wind is scattered upon the earth? Who has cut a channel for the torrents of rain, and a way for the thunderbolt to bring rain down on the land where no one lives, on the desert which is empty of human life, to satisfy the waste and desolate land, and to make the ground put forth grass? Has the rain a father? Or who has fathered the drops of dew? From whose womb did the ice come forth? And who has given birth to the hoarfrost of heaven? The waters become hard like stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Can you bind the chains of Pleiades, or loose the cords of Orion? Can you lead forth the Mazzaroth in their season, or can you guide the bear with its children? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens? Can you establish their rule on the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds so that the floodwaters may cover you? Can you send forth lightnings so that they may go and say to you, "Here we are"? Who has put wisdom in the inward parts, or given understanding to the mind? Who has the wisdom to number the clouds, or who can tilt waterskins of the heavens when the dust runs into a mass and the clouds cling together? Can you hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions when they crouch in their dens or lie wait in the covert? Who provides for the raven its prey, and when young ones cry to God and wander about for lack of food? This is summarily, uh, when people tell me that you can't say that you can't say that you're not convinced of their empty ass assertions, because you would have to know everything in order to not believe in God.
Right, yeah, or they well, I mean,
Apparently,
in this case, luckily, it's God speaking. So like he can like he knows that Joe can't do any of this shit. He knows that.
yeah, it's
Uh,
because they don't exist. It's Yahweh two sheds Jackson, one shed for the rain and the other for the snow. What the
And he's got another one for his lightning bolts. But go ahead,
well,
Lawrence.
yeah, yeah. So obviously there's like uh, a whole lot of mythology here, and like even from the very beginning, so the way that they're talking about it, especially when they're talking about more like less of the stuff to do with life and more of the stuff to do with nature, I guess. You know, the like the actual earth, the clouds, the waters, all that stuff. Um when it comes to that, they are kind of talking about it like it's a big building, and it has all these different rooms where certain things are kept, and all these doors, which I'll get into in a second. And the the reason for that is because in this period there was quite a lot of like the temple was viewed as this, you know, very holy structure, and they often pictured the heavens themselves as kind of like the temple. And in some later works you find the idea that, like, I mean, we've already run into it, but you know, as it is in heaven, so it will be on earth. And they believe that in very literal ways. So like in the book of Jubilee, for example, the angels are the attendants, and I think the angels are even circumcised too. um so like the they are supposed to, the heavenly world is supposed to mimic the, I mean in their theology, right, the this world is supposed to mimic the heavenly one. In reality, it's the opposite way. It's the other way around. But
As
That's
above, so below, except it's
yes.
really as below, so above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why there's this structure to this chapter, and why he's setting it up this way. This would be very strong rhetorically, and there's so much cool stuff that you get into, like even when they're talking about laying the foundations of the earth, and they're talking about the measuring line that's used for it. The Again, you have the reference there to the building, but it's not just that, because if you take for example verses 8 through 11, you see that, and this one I'm going to read it out again because I think it's that
Are you reading
interesting.
the same version that I was?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
really fond of that version because it's got some weird wordings. But go ahead.
oh, I mean, I think that a lot of this is to my understanding more accurate, but I'm
Okay.
also going to tie it into some other mythology. So
All right, go ahead.
yeah, who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed bounds for it and set bars and doors. And that was 8 through 10. But the idea here actually goes back to like the Canaanite Baal cycle, because in when he's battling the sea, Yam, when he's battling Yam, uh he it's not like super clear, but it seems like first he locked him in prison. He locked the sea in prison at the ends of the world, and he set a guard to make sure that the waters didn't come out. And he set up gates and bars to make sure he didn't. So literally imprisoned at the edges of the world. Um, so this kind of mythology goes back millennia. Like this is so old. By the time this was even written, and at least that kind of theology was. And there's obviously more of that kind of stuff throughout. Um, like even talking about the gates of death and the recesses of the deep, really talking about the ends of, like, in their cosmology. Go watch my video on this, by the way.
Yes,
The
Peter, can we put a link to this again, because we're going to be referring to this video that Lawrence was talking about
So
many
much.
times today.
yeah, appreciate that. So there is, like, even though the is the flat earth biblical, that is the title. Yeah. So there's so much, because they really did have um a very detailed cosmology. Now, I do want to also point out that okay, just to be clear here, because I'm not entirely sure, um in verse 16, where it says recesses of the deep, is that how do you say yarkete or something like that? Or is that a different word there for recesses?
16.
Nivre,
Nivre.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so
which is
it's
yeah.
okay.
I mean, it's a construct form of Navar. I don't know.
Okay. So it's not
Yeah.
the same word then. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's translated like JPS translates as the sources of the sea.
okay.
Steinsaltz has the depths of the sea.
Gotcha. Okay,
Neither,
because I was wondering if this is like
yeah.
the recesses of Lebanon or something like that.
Oh
which
wait,
is
sorry. I maybe. Sorry.
It's
I
actually
was
not
reading.
really
I was reading
clear
the
what-
first part of the verse. You're talking about
It's
the next word, right?
yeah, the second cola.
Oh, so it's the word is cheker.
Okay.
Cheker, yeah.
All right.
Recesses. Yeah.
So
There's real shades of Tiamat here.
Yeah, absolutely, because that is again, you have the world ocean, right? The one that surrounds it until you get to the ends there. Um,
Right.
and again, I go into this in greater detail in the video. Um, but yeah, when they're talking about the yeah, have you entered into the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep? So yeah, these would be the source for um because there were two waters that were thought, right? There was the one that was um uh at the ends of the earth, the evil ones, right? But then there was also like the at least if you go back to uh Mesopotamian cosmology, uh you have the uh the the salt waters were supposed to be, I think that's the is that the Apsu? I forget which one it is. Let me look it up
I
here.
thought Tiamat was the salt water and Apsu was the fresh water.
Yeah, that would probably make a lot of sense. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
So you have Tiamat being the salt water, Apsu being the fresh water. Um, so they have these two that are they still exist together, but they are obviously treated in different ways. Um, and let's see what else was there. Uh, and I mean, even yeah, once we get to like the storehouse of snow and stuff like that, it's a continuation of that same. It's not. I don't think this has like, to my knowledge, it doesn't have a direct parallel. Although it doesn't need to, because the rest of it already is like so obviously built off of older mythology. Um, and then when you're talking about, for example, like the thunderbolts, we already know that God himself, or Yahweh at least, was originally a war and storm god. So all this talk about, oh, I keep this stuff in verse 23, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of battle and war. And then he rhetorically says, like, yeah, who has cut a channel for the torrents of rain and a way for the thunderbolt. Yeah.
So while most people keep water like in buckets or barrels or whatever, you would think, but this guy keeps his storehouse full of specifically frozen water, light, fluffy frozen water. He keeps it in the form of snow. Very tricky.
I mean, hey, snow, like now it's not that big of a deal, but like at the time, it could really like a harsh winter could really fuck an entire nation over, because it could get rid of your crops and your fucking animals that you need to eat. Like, oh, oops, everything's dead now. I guess we are too. So it like the so even like these kinds of storms were very, very threatening. Um, let's see. What else? Was there anything else I wanted to say? Uh, I mean, I
I'm
guess
still laughing at them in
I'll leave it there for
Canadian.
now. Like, laughing what?
Laughing at them in Canadian.
Ah, okay, of course, yes. Yeah, they have no idea.
Can't handle snow.
I got a couple of
Pussies.
comments I need to jump to. So Buddha the Shuda 4350 says, hey, Aaron, love your work. You were the only dissenting voice I've heard during my definitive religious years. Thanks for being well-spoken and honest. Thank you very much for sharing that. And then the next one, it says, shut up, Matt. Says, panel, stupid question here. How much in these scriptures has not been copy-pasted from earlier teachings?
Well, the thing is, in a way, everything is I mean, unless you're like literally like on like the cutting edge of like science or something like that. But when it comes to like stories like this, most of your stuff, like even stuff that you are so convinced is like this is completely my own creation, stuff like that, you still have influence from a lot of other places. um and you can probably like even in your own like personal works, you can probably find parallels with like some other like motif, or some other author or something like that. And
It's true.
the thing
Even
is,
today.
yeah, exactly, even today. And I think that the I don't like looking at it as a copy paste.
Mhm.
they certainly had the same theology when it came to this, because it's not like they were like way ahead of their time scientifically. So like everyone kind of believed the same stuff around the same stuff when it came to the universe, at least like in this certain area, right? And
But they also
the
used similar
uh
narratives, like,
right,
you
yeah,
know.
because what they're doing is they know that these kinds of storytelling motifs work. They know that rhetoric works. They know that the stuff sticks in people's minds, and people use it ritualistically. The the way I like to look at this is, um they recreate these mythologies for their own purposes. So they take this older stuff, but then repurpose it for their own uses. So like while in one it could be like, or like in the original it was like this, fantastic creation story. Let's just say that that was all it was. Oh, here's this fantastic creation story. Oh, but let's use some parts from this creation story to like push our political agenda or something like that. So it's just the way that it's repurposed and reused. Like West Side Story and Romeo and Juliet. Did West Side
Yep.
Story copy paste Romeo and Juliet, or was it retelling the same story for a modern time?
In
Yeah.
a different context. I was going to
Right,
say
yeah.
something very similar. I mean, Bridget Jones's Diary is a very obvious example of just rewriting Pride and Prejudice for a modern audience. But how many stories have a lot of parallels to Pride and Prejudice? If you just want to have a rom-com, it's actually a really good blueprint. It's well done. And you don't have to use it all. These When I say shades of Tiamat, I'm not just talking about the ocean thing. I'm talking about the idea of, God striking down a great power from heaven and binding it, and this is part of the creation of the world and the oceans and all the rest of it. These themes, Sumerian, Babylonian, these narratives are, and part of me thinks they're born of the stories we would tell kids. I remember telling my friend's daughter just a funny, like a story just about how, oh, the clouds were, the stars were hiding behind the clouds because of the cloud dragon. And I ended up scaring her a little bit, but it was a cute little story. And I was like, no, they're all tucked in safe, like in their beds. And but like we tell kids these fun little made up stories, and we're not being literal, but unfortunately, if they grow up thinking that's literal, we end up with religion as it currently exists. But yeah, it's never quite as simple as a copy paste, but it's not original either. And
Some
that's the part that's the problem, because the word of God should be original if anything is.
some 30 years ago, I remember reading a magazine article that was talking about Independence Day, the movie, and the movie Independence Day was it loosely based on 50 previous stories. So all of these
Mhm.
parts and pieces that the inspiration for this scene comes from this other similar scene in this other completely different movie. All of these things we've seen, everything that we saw in Independence Day has already happened in another book or in another movie or in another book. And
Yep.
then after I read
All
that
the set
article, I've
pieces.
seen movies since then where I'm like, okay, I've seen that one was in Independence Day, and I know where Independence Day got it, but now Cloverfield is showing the same scene again.
Right, yeah. So but you'd hardly call Independence Day plagiarized or anything. So like,
Right, but
yeah,
there's nothing original in any of it.
sure. But Independence Day is great. I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too. The
That
first
was
one.
fun. I think that's the only time I ever wished I was an American. Never before or
Fair.
since.
That's fair.
There's a great website called TV Tropes that has like a listing for every movie, every book, pretty much, and you can see all the tropes that are in them, and then you could like look at a trope and then see a list of all the movies that has that trope, or other literature. It's really good.
And we were
I just
talking
need
last
happy
night.
endings in my fiction.
Yeah, I was talking to my daughter last night about movies. We were talking about doing movie night. She's got this 80-inch screen, that fantastic pictures. So we do a movie night once in a while, and it's really nice picture. And I suggested that one of the things that her and her husband could watch one night would be Nosferatu. I said, because if you turn off all the lights in the house, you'll be able to see it, because the movie is so completely dark. You have to turn off every light to be able, be able to see this thing. But the thing that made that interesting in the conversation was because it's only what, the 67th version of Dracula. How many more versions of that do we need? How many times can we make Dracula and Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and we'll just mix them all up now. Just throw them all in the same movie, like Penny Dreadful or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. We're just going to start remaking League of Extraordinary Gentlemen over and over again.
Or Monster Mash. That was good too.
Yeah.
I went to like a board game meetup last Sunday, and we played a game where we pitted Dracula, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and I played as what's his name, Sherlock Holmes, and then also the Invisible Man. Those were the 4 people fighting each other. It's quite fun.
All right, got another comment. This is Satan616 who says, evangelicals be like, the Bible has to be taken literally. Me, including Job 38, evangelicals, la 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 la, can't hear you.
Yeah. They like to say like, oh, it's like it's just Hebrew poetry that's all being used rhetorically. And you could, I mean, sure, those things are true, but the thing is, they're using the exact same language and referring to the same cosmology that everyone else in the region was referring to. So
When
like
all of those other people really believed that the world
right,
was...
yeah, exactly. Those other people are the dumb ones. No.
And it's possible the same person will say, oh, it's obviously metaphor or something, but then they'll be like, oh, but you see the scientific thing about how could the people who wrote this knew that Pleiades was a cluster and Orion is a whatever.
And they
We'll get to that, I guess.
stars back then?
I'm very annoyed about that verse.
Yeah, and how did these
Oh.
people not know that God throws lightning and then lightning shows up and says, here we are? All right, so my
gotta love it.
unfinished journey says, hail Aaron and panel, and hail recycling mythologies.
It's true. Hey, reduce, reuse, recycle.
And then
Yeah, and to
Rivers-
be fair, I don't want the original commenter to think we're dismissing the comment, because we're not trying to do that. It's just, it's more complicated, and the fact that this mythology obviously grew out of the ground where it developed and then developed and changed drastically over time is a very clear indication that this scripture and all the religions which use it are natural phenomenon, not supernatural.
Well, to Lawrence's point, if you're writing a story and you think it's an original story, you may not realize that if you had never heard of you're writing this tale and you're making it original, you're adding these elements that you think make it interesting, but but you don't realize that if you had never heard Little Red Riding Hood, you would have written this differently. So you don't realize how you were influenced by other stories that you've seen or other movies that you've seen that caused you take this effect from this one and put it over here. You know, like when God is speaking out of the whirlwind, it's a tornado. That's what we're talking about here, right? What is more godlike than a tornado? I mean, having seen a tornado kind of face to face, that's fucking impressive.
Well, I'd say it's close to a tornado. It would be a storm more generally. So like this happens a lot, right? Because Yahweh warned storm god. So like for example, when Elijah gets taken up, that was a whirlwind came down at that time. So it's a very common part of Yahwism, I would say.
Oh my God, did Elijah end up in Oz?
Well, he did, but then he came back for a little bit for the Jesus stuff, and then he left again.
Oh, he
Well, if
finally
it
got his
was a-
balloon fixed. Okay.
Right, yeah.
If
Sorry,
it was
spoiler.
a tornado,
Spoiler.
then Elijah could have been yanked out of the Levant and dropped in Kansas, but nobody's gonna know that.
Oh my God,
Wow,
that
but-
was where the Mormons came from.
Yeah.
Rimmer's Braggery Eye, and I don't think I'm saying that right, but says, I think I have 5 or 6 movies that are based on The Most Dangerous Game. Yeah.
Interesting.
You do tend to see the same trope over and over and over again. Like when you're watching Avatar. Is it Avatar? No, not Avatar. What is that movie? Where the people like adopt, they train themselves to use the bodies of 15-foot tall blue alien tribesmen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Avatar.
that's Avatar.
That is Avatar.
That's Avatar.
Okay,
It's not
That
the
is
it's not the real
that-
Avatar.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
the
Avatar: The
American
Last
Avatar.
Airbender. It's Avatar.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
but it is called
let's
Avatar.
leave Toph out of this.
Okay,
Yes.
so that movie is Dancing with Wolves.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
little bit of Pocahontas. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
Same vibe.
Anyway, nice side run. Lawrence, do you have
Got
anything
one
more
more?
to say on these first few verses?
No, I think that's the most I had to say. If there's anything else, I'll cover it when we get there.
Yeah, I bet this is going to be a long show today.
Yeah, but it's gonna be
Well,
fun.
God
We-
is a
we got a lot of
dramatic
cool
bitch.
stuff.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder
Okay.
why.
Let's start, Tomo, and then when we get to the verses,
Yeah.
we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think this is the longest commentary that I have for Job.
Fabulous.
Yes. You said we're going to go all in on this, so I was doing exactly that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start at verse 1. Habel notes that severe storms were associated with theophanies of Yahweh from Israel's earliest history, as we see in Exodus 19, 9-20, Judges 5, 4 and 5, Habakkuk 3, 5 and 6, and Psalms 18, 8-16, which is 7-15. Clines adds that the language here is generally thought to be derived from the cult of the weather god, and that the significance of the tempest as an accompaniment of the theophany may be, quote, that the appearance of God constitutes a disturbance in the normal course of events, both in the lives of humans and in the course of natural events, which is not the same as saying the thunderstorm represented absolute power, which could be both malevolent and beneficent, according to Theodore Hebert, since there is no hint here of valued judgments, end quote. The Kere reading of Min HaSe'ara, from the storm, is a single word, with the letter nun being written in medial style. Hakham suggested that it may possibly be an intermediary form between Me HaSe'ara and Min HaSe'ara. He notes that something similar is found in the expression from the cave, Min HaMe'ara, and is pronounced Me HaMe'ara. Tur-Sinai thought that the written form indicates that some people pronounce the preposition min as part of the following word, as if the two words were in fact a single word. Hartley notes Forer's opinion that this could be an error for the poetic form mini, from.
Yeah, it does kind of make sense that if the older form was here is a word meaning from, and then we just put it in front of the noun, and then over time we see a prefix that is the beginning of that word by itself, that possibly there was a transitional form where it was just the two words stuck together.
That does make a
then-
lot of sense. That's how language functions.
And yeah, and also like the nurse sound, I think is quite common in lots of languages to kind of like drop it out of the middle of words and stuff like that.
Okay, on verse 2, Habel writes that the formal who is this, mise, is Yahweh's counter to the challenge of Job in 13:19a, quote, who will contend this suit with me, end quote. Yahweh chooses to defend the design, etzah, of the world, since Job has effectively obscured that design by accusations and charges. The term etzah is also closely linked with the term wisdom, chokhmah, found in 12:13, Proverbs 8:14, 21:30, and Jeremiah 49:7, and related expressions, as seen in Isaiah 28:29. According to Isaiah 46:10, Yahweh's design for the earth is a primordial plan operating from the beginning. And Clines comments, quote, the divine design, Itzah, that Job's words have been obscuring, must be Yahweh's principles for running the creation, what we might call the universe project. These principles are implicit in the descriptions of the universe that follow in Yahweh's speech. The plan is not God's plan in history, according to Levesque, or the course of providence in history, according to Veronica Kubina, or his designs for the future, according to Terrien. It is not so much a plan that God has in mind, since the term suggests a purpose or an end in view, as a grand design for how the universe should be structured and managed. So vast a scheme, it might be suggested, might well have been termed in the heavenly councils the design or the project. Job's quest for justice and his complaint that he is being denied it obscure the fact that, according to these speeches, Yahweh does not undertake to ensure that justice reigns in the world. Yahweh has created the world with its physical and moral systems, but he does not monitor the detail of what goes on in it, and he does not serve as a cosmic policeman.
Is there anything about like this chapter in general? Is there any understanding that this is possibly not God suddenly appearing out of the like coming out of the clouds in a storm and like coming to Job with his friend sitting there while they're chatting and being like, shut up, you fools, this is what I'm going to say? Is it possible that this is part of like the previous guy's story or something like that? If that makes sense. Like this is, rather than this is God actually speaking, this is someone saying that, and this is what God would do, or something like that.
I don't know. It's a bit abrupt, the entrance. It just says God spoke out of the whirlwind. We haven't been told there was a whirlwind or a storm or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like it just, though in the rant from the young guy, Elihu previously, Elihu, he mentions a storm near the end, sort of like storm imagery, which talking about weather, comparing that to God's power is pretty normal because it's big and powerful and you can't really do anything about it. But it doesn't say, that this is what's going on right now. It doesn't say like that storm over there. The narrative point of view is just very abrupt, and God just shows up like a dramatic bitch and has a fit.
Yeah, it is.
But he never answers Job's question. He never answers him.
No, he just basically goes like, "I'm better than you. You're nothing." Like, okay, MJF. I would say that like in the context of the story, like that this is God speaking, because like after all of the listen, they've been going back and forth a lot. Job's been very complaining, and his friends have not been very helpful, and Elihu is a fucking asshole. So I think that like finally God's like, all right, I've had enough of your shit. Now I'm just gonna tell you.
Yeah.
So it's not possible to show you what a precious diva I am.
So it's not possible, let's say, that there's an earlier version of the story where Elihu, let's say, was the good guy, kind of bringing the ending, and he does. It's not like God literally came down and spoke to them. The story is these people all had their own opinions, and then the guy at the end, Elihu, who by the way is very Yahwistic, not a Yahwistic name, but an Elohist name, is like he has this introduction, and then he kind of talks about God saying to you, like, how do you know what happened? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously, the story was written by a person, and
obviously, yeah.
Well, it's also the thing that
write the story and say God did this. Yeah.
It's also the thing that creationists always do. They assume that God magic is the default, and that whatever science can't explain is explained by magic. And so they think they have the default position. Well, how do you explain this? And then you start to explain and you interrupt the answer. How do you explain this? So I got another comment, and they're stacking up.
Why would that mean magic?
Yeah. So Bruno Zygerts, 6379, offers $5 Californian. and says Bova wrote a book about humans using alien bodies long before Avatar. Okay. And then
Canadian, you know you
Infidel.
went to one of us.
Infidel, I like that. It's Infinity Dale, never mind. I like that anyway. It says, I don't care if it's a long show, as long I can't even see this, as long as it's got some girth. It's the motion of the show. And then McTime says, R.N. Ra, I consider you the OG of my atheism. I appreciate your effort through the years. Do you just don't know how you have helped me through hard times? Thank you very much for sharing that. Sorry, I'm having some difficulty reading. I have to blow some of these letters up. Some days I have good vision, some days things are a bit blurry.
Well, you've got a lot of stuff on your screen to juggle too.
Yep.
But you know what? With God, and I complained that God doesn't answer Job's questions, any of his questions or his accusations or concerns. He just comes in and yells at him about all the stuff he doesn't know. And I had this flashback to this movie, this children's movie, Matilda. I'm big, you're small. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm smart, you're dumb. And there's nothing you can do about it.
We were mentioning a moment
That's
ago.
the response.
We were mentioning a moment ago about how we keep remaking movies for no fucking reason. I just found out that they remade Matilda. I saw a scene of it. And I'm like, why? Why did you make this movie again?
It was perfect the first time.
It was a really good movie the first time. And what I'm watching after it, the Trunchbull character, the Matilda character, all of the ones that I'm seeing reproduced, the actors might be fine for other things, but I'm like, why would you make this movie that you've lost all the charm? There's like nothing good about this. Why waste our time?
There's nothing new.
Hey,
about
here's an idea. Write an original fucking story.
it. Good luck with that.
Anyway,
I do find
Homer,
it interesting.
quit holding up the show.
There's one more thing about verse 1. So Steinsaltz, like the way that he writes is he translates with like inserts. So he's got the Lord answered Job from the tempest, and then he writes the wind that brought down the house of his firstborn and killed his sons, and said. So the tempest. So where does that come from? This idea that like the tempest is the same storm that was knocked down the house and killed his sons.
It doesn't have to be the same storm though, because it's the same power. It's the power of the winds that hit the four corners of the house and knocked out the support. So, but that's God's power specifically.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's trying to say that it's the same wind, as in like the same strength or the same like entity, person in a sense. But it almost feels like he's saying that this is God said this back then when he killed his sons. It doesn't.
Oh my God.
Make sense. But yeah. Tom, do you know where he might have got that from?
Who?
Steinsaltz.
What did he say?
He says that the tempest is the wind that brought down the house of his firstborn and killed his sons.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me just check. I don't think it's in the Targum. No, it's not in the Targum. But let's see if
maybe he's just saying it's the same Hebrew word. Sarah is used in both places. Maybe.
I don't see anything in at least in the traditionals that say that this is the same storm, though.
I mean, knowing Steinsaltz, it could be something that comes from like a mimer or something from the.
Well, they wouldn't have looked at it as different storms, would they? I mean, if a tornado comes down, one Thursday in Jordan, they're going to say that's God, and if it happens again in Canaan, well then that's God too. It's the same storm.
Yeah, but Steinsaltz is writing like 30, 40 years ago. It's not. he shouldn't
You're
be
thinking
seeing it in that
like
way.
it's like this should have been earlier in the narrative.
I don't know. That's the thing. You'd think you'd be clearer, but
Well,
yeah,
I
I don't know
think
where he gets that from.
if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is like, what's the possibility that verse 1 was in addition, and that the rest of this was actually just a part of the speech before?
Yeah, maybe.
Wait, is that not what you were saying?
That's why I was kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, is it possible that this is like Elihu kind of continuing his speech?
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
I mean, I have no idea. I do not have the
right.
the tools in my tool belt to answer that question, because like I would have to know a lot more about Hebrew poetry for that.
Okay, on 3, brace yourself like a man. The Masoretic text reads, Azor, wait, is it Azor? No, Azor. Azor na kagever chalatzecha, usually translated to gird your loins like a man, as we see in early translations. Rashi and Kara wrote that Yahweh intimated to him that he should arouse himself from his illness and his sufferings. Clines writes that girding the loins means tying a belt around the loins and tucking into it the skirt of the outer garment, the robe, to prevent it from getting in the way of rigorous activities. He writes that loin girding is a gendered activity, with only men girding the loins for the strenuous work of fighting, as we see in 2 Samuel 28, 1 Kings 2:5, Isaiah 5:27. Some have seen here a reference to an ancient custom of belt wrestling, the winner being the one who can strip the other of his belt, according to C.H. Gordon, Tur-Sinai, and Forel, though it is very doubtful. He further writes, quote, Yahweh's call to Job to gird up his loins is a call to the combat between warriors, to the combat of heroes. If he is to gird up his loins, he must be expected to fight, or at least to be attacked. Though what verse 3b portrays is the onset of a verbal dispute, to be precise, a legal controversy, such as Job had envisaged in 13:22 and 14:15, verse 3a severely modifies that picture of what will take place. God tells Job without qualification that he regards him as his opponent and enemy, who will need courage and strength, not a just cause, to be able to confront him. God, in short, makes no secret that the legal dispute will only be the form of their encounter. A trial of strength will be its substance. It is all metaphorically speaking, of course. The conflict will still be a matter of words, and the trial of strength will be a trial of knowledge. But Job had better understand that summoning God to trial will not lead to a calm, rational, orderly legal process. God takes Job's summons personally and intends to fight. A superior male has been injured by an inferior and intends to get his revenge.
Ugh. Oh my God, he's a Theo bro. God is a fucking Theo bro incel. No wonder he had to rape a teenager to get Jesus.
Mm-hmm. On verses 5 and 6, Habel comments, quote, the use of the building metaphor to describe the creation of Earth underscores its orderly planned design. Through its various stages of construction, God is the architect, as we see in verse 5a, the surveyor in verse 5b, and the engineer in verse 6. Earth's dimensions were carefully calculated, and a measuring line, kav, used to guarantee precision in its construction. Compare Jeremiah 31:39 and Zechariah 1:16. Earthly wisdom is, quote-unquote, is required of a craftsman who builds a house, and discernment for those who establish it. As we see in Proverbs 24:3 and compare Exodus 31:3 and 4, 1 Kings 7:14, and Isaiah 40:20. Primordial wisdom, the source of earthly wisdom, herself built a house with pillars, according to Proverbs 9:1. She was present at the foundation of the world and continues to operate as the underlying principle which orders the cosmos, as we see in 28:20-27 and Proverbs 8:22-31. In choosing the building metaphor to portray the construction of Earth, the poet thereby emphasizes the wisdom and discernment required in its grand design. The belief that the Earth rested on pillars was common in the ancient Near East, as we see in 9:6.
Yeah, so I'm guessing verses 5 and 6 are most Christians would say that's obviously a metaphor or poetic language. Lawrence, do you see
Yeah,
these as
yeah.
being
It's
like,
well,
yeah,
they only admit metaphor when they're obviously wrong. Even then, it's touch and go.
yeah. Would you say that these verses are evidence of flat Earth thinking in Job?
Well, the specific ones that you referenced, I would say that, like, alone, those don't say much. But once we take into context the rest of Job 38, and then especially Job 9, uh,
Mm.
yeah, to me, it's like, listen, this is very clearly pointing to the same cosmology
Right,
as
right,
everyone else in that world.
right. I'm saying because, like, in my head, like, do you know its dimensions measured with a line? To me, like, you would measure a,
Right.
an
Yeah, were
span.
you there when I laid the foundations that don't exist because it's a spinning globe, but I am only God, so why would I know that?
Yeah.
And the
Right.
core
Yeah.
is molten, not solid. And yeah, it's I realized something when I was speaking to a very nice Christian woman a week ago. She's very sweet, and I didn't want to go too hard on her. But I realized that when Christians talk about context, they're not talking about what we're talking about. When we talk about context, we're talking about the text, we're talking about the historical context. When was it written? What were people trying to say? We're talking about reality based. The context that Christians want, though I don't think most of them are aware of it consciously, is the context of biblical supremacy, where you can't question the text and you have to just find a way to make it work with reality, no matter what you have to contort yourself into. That is what they mean by context. I don't think they always know that that's what they mean, but effectively, that is what they mean.
Yeah. They're always looking at, like, the context of, like, well, if we take it this whole thing literally, or if we take it the way it should be taken, to support my view, yeah. So, they mean context in a very different way.
They do. They do.
Well, it's interesting how they can look at one chapter verses apart and say these verses are obviously metaphor, and these verses are uh, almost prophetic scientific revelation that no one saw was a revelation until modern times.
But I've noticed
Right.
apologists use the same thing, the same verse, to say that it is metaphorical, but then also argue as if it's literal because they have to.
If you want to yeah, if you want to see the holes in apologetics, just look at what Christians were calling literal 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Look what the ancient fathers thought should be taken literally and what they argued from as though it were literal. You'll see they're making exactly the same excuses, just applying them differently to the dialogue of the day. It's the same shit, different
Yeah.
day.
And you
We
don't
got
even
a
have to go
comment
back
from
in time.
Robert X 8020, who says, it's funny how Christians always say, without God, there is no morality, while the morality of God is so low that even the most evil criminal doesn't even come close.
I don't know. Those Epstein files have some people that come pretty freaking close. But aside from that, yeah, I would absolutely, on the basis of the demonstrated morality of the scripture we've read so far, I would trust a convicted felon over your average convicted felon, not an Epstein one, over Yahweh.
Okay,
Yeah.
on verse 7, Habel writes that the allusion to stars may have its roots in astral mythology. The worship of astral deities was common in the ancient Near East and persisted in Israel for centuries, as we see in Deuteronomy 4:19, 2 Kings 17:16, and 21:3. He notes that here, however, the polemical aspect is suppressed, and the focus lies on the participation of the celestial court in the celebration of Earth's creation in a manner similar to its participation in the divine decision of human beings. Compare Genesis 1:26. The reference to the sons of God, Bnei Elohim, is generally taken to be angels, According to Septuagint, Rashbam, Kara, and Targum, which reads the bands of the angels, though others take them to be the stars and constellations. According to Ibn Ezra and the Commentaries, Ditrani, and Clines. Hakham notes that the mention together of the morning stars and the sons of God may possibly be alluding to an opinion common among the ancients, that every star has an angel to guide it, or that the stars themselves are sublime beings whose loftiness is close to that of the angels.
Yep.
On verse 8, several commentators see here an allusion to the common Semitic myth of a struggle of the deity with the sea at creation. Habel notes that Marduk, after slaying Tiamat, also fixes a bar to hold back the vast primordial waters. Citing Gordis, he writes that the picture of the sea gushing, giach, from the womb as a threatening, yes, Aaron, be mature, please, gushing from the womb as a threatening child has associations with the bursting forth of water, with rushing into battle, and with the breaking of waters in the womb. He writes that the image is deliberately absurd. Quote, this violent chaos monster is but an infant, born from a womb, wrapped in baby clothes, placed in a playpen, and told to stay in its place. End quote. Several traditionals took the double doors, de la time, to be the sand, which is the boundary of the sea, according to Rashi, Rashbam, Rabbeinu Tam, Kinchi, and Ditrani. Hartley writes that the double doors imagery is suggestive of the womb's labia, though he writes that there is no hint here of sexual congress between Yahweh and Mother Nature. Regarding the sea's origin, Clines notes that Dorm thought that it was the earth, but writes that the phrase, when it gushed forth out of the womb, has a more specific meaning than just when it was created, and it is more probably the cosmic abyss, according to Pope and Habel. Tur-Sinai thought that it was the heavenly ocean, but Clines rejects this.
Someone's going to correct Thomas' pronunciation, I guess.
What? Of what?
It's
Labia.
not labia.
Labia, labia, labia. I don't
Labia.
know.
Labia.
Labia, labia, whatever. Whatever. Fuck English.
If you
Remember
ever
this-
want to see one, pronounce it correctly.
I mean,
It
I
means-
live. excuse me. Do you know where I fucking live?
It looks like a cavern.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, it means lips.
Yeah, I know what they mean. I know what it means, Isaac.
Yeah, so like labia, labial dental, like.
I don't know what I've. Do you realize that I've never used labia before?
No, I'm saying that it's the same word as like like.
Okay,
in
but
phonetics.
where does how could I understood how to pronounce labia from lips?
No, there's other words that you might
I
come
know,
across, like
Isaac.
labial.
Okay, but
means
you do
using
realize
the
that I
lips
don't
in
I
speaking.
don't use these words very frequently.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's good to know that you don't use labia. So,
Fuck off.
Rimmer's Braggery says, Aaron, people laughed at the same apologetics 1,800 years ago as we are laughing at now. I would like to think that.
Yeah, you don't have to go back in time
Actually-
to see like these ancient ideas. There are people these days that are just in such a bubble that they don't even know that their religious belief or whatever has already been debunked. They don't know, and so they live with
Completely.
that. And
That's true.
like people like yeah, dinosaurs aren't real. It's all made up. And then you've got other creationists who are like trying to argue that this type of dinosaur is a different kind and was on the ark and was an egg or something. And then you've got other creationists who are like, what? Like they don't even have to think. There are people who are still believe in species fixity because they don't know any better.
Which is pretty funny. I got it. Not gonna lie, that is species fixity. But you know what? It reminds me. Actually, I browsed the comments on a video a couple weeks ago, and it was there was a self-righteous Christian in the comments. Oh, see, it prophesied in the last days, mockers will come with their mocking and blah, 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 blah. And I had to laugh. I'm like, so we're it. We're the sign of the apocalypse. Not Voltaire. Not fucking Thomas Paine. Not Robert Greene Ingersoll. Apparently, all of those are less impressive than us shit talking on YouTube. Bravo. Really. Just.
On verse 9, Clines comments, quote, "The clothing of the sea by God is perhaps not so much a representation of him as a nurturing midwife, according to Newsome, but of his effective control of it. Some have suggested that swaddling bands were essentially, quote, restraints to prevent the baby's arms and legs from moving about and were believed to calm the child," end quote, according to Newsome, though others think that they were just for, for warmth and to ensure that the limbs grew straight. Wrapping a child in swaddling bands is referred to also at Ezekiel 16:4, Wisdom 7:4, and Luke 2:7 and 12. The sea is greeted at birth with a decree, chok, prescribing its bounds. It is hemmed in with bolts and doors, and laid under a charge that its proud waves should not exceed their stated domain. This violent infant is depicted in the language of mythology, as also the allusion to the sea at 7:12, 9:13, 26:12. Thick darkness, in Hebrew arafel, is traditionally what cloaks the presence of God. Why should it be wrapped around the sea? It can hardly be the water bound up in the clouds, according to Kisane, such as Tzofar has spoken of in 26:8. Rather, the reference is to the mists that often gather over the seas. On verses 10 through 11, Hartley comments, quote, "With another metaphor, Yahweh states that he fixed limits or statutes, chok, i.e. natural boundaries, that the sea cannot cross. Compare Genesis 1:6-9 and Proverbs 8:29. Or, using another figure, he shut the sea behind bolted doors, as though it were confined in a fortress. For example, Deuteronomy 3:5. Since he fully controls or restricts the sea, never can it at will inundate the inhabited land. This wording means that the sea may encroach on the land, but only so far. Its mighty, proud waves break at the seashore, the line drawn by God. Even when the sea is aroused in a violent storm and its waves reach far inland, there is a boundary it may not cross." On verse 12, Habel comments, quote, "The focus of Yahweh's challenge moves to Job's authority over morning and dawn, Yahweh's agents for regulating daily life on earth. The rich mythological heritage associated with the dawn, Shachar, compare Isaiah 14:12 and the Shachar and Shalim myth of Ugarit, and the motive of giving commands suggested that both dawn and morning are personified as divine agents. Job is challenged to wake dawn, whom he previously sought to restrain forever by imposing a curse on the night of his birth, as we see in 3:7-9. The ironic expression, "in all your days," compare 7:1 and 14:5, anticipates the satirical quip of verse 21, where Job's days are as numerous as those of the first human. The place, makom, of dawn is her divinely appointed locus in the established design of creation, as we see on 28:1. For Job to assign dawn to her designated post would mean that he knew the ordering principle of wisdom, which established the place of each component in the cosmos. Compare 28:20 forward and Proverbs 8:22-31. The regulation of day and night was essential to the maintenance of the cosmic order. Compare Psalms 104:19-23.
There's also is it possibly a scribal error in verse 12, right? You have two
where?
words. Yeah, Yidata Hashachar.
But there is a Keren Ketiv here.
Yeah, so it's possible that it's just the prefix from one word jumped onto the end of the word before it, and so they kept that writing, but they were like, this doesn't make sense, so they just still read it in the correct way, but the text is wrong.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
like-
Clines writes that the Yidata have made to known the only occurrence of Yada no in PL, though it has also been proposed for verse 33 and for Psalms 104:19. The Ketiv regards the final. It's not the Ketiv. Yeah, sorry. The Kere regards the final hey of the verb as the article before Shachar, the dawn, but it's probably
Right.
better to read the Ketiv with the fuller writing of the verb form.
Oh, so actually the way it's written is actually more correct, and then the traditional
Yes.
reading is wrong.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, because
Yeah.
okay. What's the difference in meaning in the verb? So to know.
Yadata, to have made to known.
And what's the difference if it has the hey at the end or not?
Yadata, have you known the dawn? I mean, maybe the dawn or dawn. Is that like the?
No, I'm saying what's the difference? Is it just like a different spelling of the same word, or is it actually change its meaning?
I think it changes its meaning. Kinda.
Interesting.
Just a second. Okay. On is it 13? Yeah. On 13, Clines notes that Bud took the corners or fringes, kenafot, of the earth to be the tips of the mountains lit up by the rays of the dawn. However, the other occurrences of the phrase make clear that the earth has 4 corners, as we've seen 37:3, Isaiah 11:12, 24:16, and Ezekiel 7:2. He also notes that Dumb, being a little too literal-minded, read bekancha by the fringe of in the singular, since the dawn touches only the eastern edge of the earth. Sorry, beknafecha, by the fringe in the singular, since the dawn touches only the eastern edge of the earth. Clines prefers reading Rashaim as dog stars, following G.R. Driver. According to Driver, Sirius, the dog star, had a reputation in antiquity for bringing pestilence, fire, and fever, as we see in Homer, Iliad 22, 29, and 30, where Sirius is called an evil omen. The dog days, named for the constellations of Canis, the dog, were the 20 or so sultry days before and after the heliacal rising of Sirius, i.e. in July and early August in Mediterranean countries. He writes that the Masoretic reading of the word could indicate that the scribes recognized that it had such a specialized reference here.
You mentioned, did I hear you correctly, that the earth has 4 corners?
Yes.
Now, are they not? Because I read somewhere else that when it's talking about corners, the translation can mean that it's actually quadrants, like north, south, east, west.
Yes, that's what I would say when it talks about the 4 corners. Because if we compare it with other ancient Near Eastern texts that also use the phrase 4 corners, they're always referring to like the whole world. They're referring because there are
They're not talking about the edges of
right, yeah,
of a square. They're talking about like all of the
right,
parts
yeah.
of a circle.
Hold on.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're muted, Lawrence. Oh, is he talking to someone?
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah, so I would say that 4 corners refers to, because they have I'd have to check again, but they have another phrase that they use when they're talking about like the actual edges of the world. They talk about like the recesses of I forget the phrase. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like the word kanaf meaning corner, it's not really like what we would call like the corner of a shape. It's more like, you know, the corner of the room, like that part of the room that is by the corner, if that makes sense. So like the corner of your head is supposed to be this whole area. Like the temple area is kind of like in the Bible, I think it's called the corner of your head. Okay.
Okay. On 14 and 15, Habel comments, quote, "In the second image, the earth is compared to clay, which is transformed under the pressure of a seal. As the light intensifies, the contours and colors of earth stand forth in bold relief, and the wicked are exposed to the light of the day," as we see in verse 14. The implication that the wicked are controlled by the advent of dawn answers Job's accusations about God's bias in favor of the wicked. According to Job, God mocks the innocent and hands over the earth to the wicked, as we see in 9:22 through 24. The godless
Which verse are you
prosper,
talking about right now?
14 through 15.
Okay.
The godless prosper in 12:5 and 6, and the wicked enjoy a life of peace and happiness in 21:7 forward. More specifically, Job accuses God of afflicting him without reason while smiling on the design, etzah, of the wicked in 10:3. Contrary to Job's claim, however, the design of Yahweh includes exposing the wicked each dawn in verse 15 without necessarily destroying them.
I have a question on 14, which I'm sure
Yes.
Lawrence saw coming. It depends on the translation. New International Version says the earth takes shape like clay under a seal, its features stand out. And that is clarified in a different translation that says that in the, well, a couple of them that says that the hills are the features that stand out like the folds of a garment. But in every version that I can see, except for the one that says changed for whatever reason, I don't know why it would say changed, but all the other ones talk about that the shape of the earth is that of clay under a seal, which would be a vague disc shape. And it explains some detailed topography like hills and such. But that's a flat world.
For this, I would say that because I've heard flat earthers use this one too, and I'm like, there are so many. There are better verses that you can use to show that the Bible is a flat earth text.
But this is God Himself saying,
right?
It's
Yeah,
a
because
flat disc.
yes,
Yeah,
but
but
I
it
don't
doesn't
think
seem
this
to be the
refers
context
shape
of
the world.
creation, right? This isn't talking about the
Not
earth
disc,
being-
though.
Well, it's
Seals
not-
from that time would have been round seals that you would roll out like a rolling pin that would leave an impression behind.
Well,
You would dab a bit of the clay on your envelope or your scroll, and then
press
you
it
would
down.
mash it with the seal, which is your signature.
Yes.
And it's not a
You
perfect disc, but
roll it.
it's vaguely rounded, flat shape.
Well, I
think
what
that's
you're
a-
talking
that's
about, but I
a
don't think they're
later
talking about the shape,
style.
which is why in the next verse it
Yeah.
says, "And it is dyed like a garment." Because
Yeah,
I don't think
They're talking about the fact that it was imprinted with the ups and downs, because the seals that they would wear would be like a little cylinder that you would have on a string, and then you would roll it across, and it would leave the imprint of your seal, obviously, in the lifted portions and the carved out portions, you know.
Okay, so maybe
So it wasn't
there's a
like
subtlety on
round
this.
in the way of a wax seal.
But when
Yeah,
it
I
says
think
it
wax
takes
seals
the
are more-
shape, the earth takes the shape of a flat disc. I read it as being the earth takes that shape.
I mean,
I think they're
Tom,
talking more
Hebrew-
about the hills and valleys.
yeah, the verb titaper. Does that mean to change, or does it mean to like form? Or to
I
do-
mean,
So like the
take
King
form?
James says
Elsewhere-
it is turned as clay to the seal.
fuck the King James.
I mean the reading. I mean the verb hafach means to turn upside down.
Yeah.
So
But
and
that
so
tied upside
and
down and can be extended to
yeah,
change,
and it's
right?
elsewhere. And it's elsewhere is turned this way and that. But Clines notes that BDB Dictionary, Halot, and DCH offer transform oneself for this passage.
Well, then, Tomer and Isaac, if you're both reading Hebrew, how would you translate that into English?
Well, it. I mean, again, it's hard because the language of Job is a bit difficult. I mean, it transforms as Homer is like clay, I would assume. So kind of
Like the clay under
transforms like
under a
clay
seal, yeah.
Under a seal clay or something like that. Homer chotam, clay of the seal, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the seals of that era, don't think about like a wax seal, like a ring. You think about it's actually the seal itself is formed out of clay, and there's a pattern carved into it that goes around, and you roll it across whatever you're doing. I mean, it would be baked ideally, and then you roll it across, and that leaves your signature seal in it. So it'd be more of a rectangular impression.
I
Because
think
you have this
the
repeating
actual
pattern that you would roll
material.
across.
I don't know if the cylinder is clay or not. Maybe.
Some of
the
them
thing
were.
is, I
I mean,
think
not necessarily all of them.
Yeah. What I've seen is that this verse, it rather than be talking about the shape of the earth or the earth taking form, it's talking about morning. It's talking about the sun rising and the light spreading over the land and the like the hills and the features of the land
I think it's-
taking shape. And
Okay, so in the
becoming,
International
I was thinking it was
Standard
talking more
Version-
about God imprinting the mountains.
Yeah, in International Standard Version, it says, like clay is molded by a signet ring, The earth's hills and valleys then stand out like the colors of a garment.
Yeah, I think that is one way of reading it. For example, JPS translates it as it changes like clay under the seal till it, and then it puts in brackets, its hues are fixed
Okay.
like those of a garment. I mean, Steinsaltz implies that it or that isn't the hues of a garment or the hues of the earth, but rather the people of the land present themselves every day, sort of
Okay,
thing.
I didn't want to belabor that.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah, yeah.
in Lawrence's documentary on the flat Earth, I did not understand why he did not include this reference.
Right, because I don't think this is one of them that points to it. I think
Okay.
that there's a whole bunch of other stuff that points to it, but not this one.
Yeah, it's like it's ambiguous. That's the thing. Like there are flat earthers that use this verse,
But you
but
also have to remember that flat earthers are idiots.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's ambiguous. It can be read that way to support it, but I wouldn't use it against
Obviously.
Christians and be like, look.
Well,
this
see, I think I
earth
found your
must
problem.
be-
It is that you are stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, on 16, the springs of the sea. The Masoretic text read Nivrei Yam. The word never is a hapax, with most other translations and traditionals taking it as the source or depths of the sea, though Ibn Ezra took the reference to be of sea waves. Habel writes that the sources of the sea probably refers to the distant abode of the Canaanite deity El at the extremity of the subterranean waters. Clines writes that the springs of the sea are the underworld depths that feed the sea with its water. In Genesis 7:11, 49-25, the deep Tehom provides life-giving water for the earth. Compare 1QH 115, i.e. the hymn scroll, quote, the ocean depths, Tehom, boil over the springs of water, Navoch. Hakham takes Nivche to mean whirlpools, and writes that this is an ancient word found in Ugaritic poetry. He comments that the whirlpools of the sea are swirling currents at the bottom of the sea. Tur-Sinai wrote that Nivche Yam here is referring to the upper celestial sea, and writes that in the conception of the ancient Hebrews, the celestial sea was in fact united. At the horizon, the border between heaven and earth, with the nether ocean which surrounds the earth. This, however, is rejected by Clines.
Do some Christians try to claim that this is talking about like deep sea thermal vents?
I think I've heard that somewhere. Yes.
Is it this verse?
I think it is.
Nifreyam, the sources of the sea.
Yeah. I think it does.
Yeah, but I mean, the paths of the sea they think are referring to, currents and
right.
instead of just rivers that lead to the sea. So I don't know.
The thing
what
is,
to tell you.
it's very easy to take an existing text, which is talking about something random or ambiguous, and then make it and twist it to make it fit in with something else. It's something else to actually take that text and actually make a prediction about something that can be like scientifically discovered. No one was reading deep sea vents from the Bible
until we knew about deep sea vents. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same old story.
Okay, on 17, Rashi took the gates of death to be Gehinom, and Targum takes the gates of deepest darkness to be the gates of the shadow of death of Gehenna. Habel notes that in the Sumerian myth, the descent of Inanna, and its Akkadian successor, the descent of Ishtar, the goddess passes through 7 gates in order to enter the realm of the underworld deity. He adds that the gates, which Job is expected to have penetrated, are those which any mortal or deity must pass to reach death, the king of the underworld. Clines adds that the land of Sheol is naturally mentioned in connection with the sea and its sources, for it is thought to be located immediately beneath the sea, and accessed from earth by the river Death. It is a land, but also a city with gates, which prevent its inhabitants from ever living. It is presided over by a ruler, the King of Terrors in 1814, who is surrounded by demons as his courtiers.
Well, that sounds delightful.
Someone in the comments wants to know, when is Blasphemers Quran? You always dogpile on Christians because there's no
We
repercussions.
did that,
We did it first.
and Lawrence
me.
is still doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I had to take a
Ugh.
break because of the flood. But yeah, that was once everything is fixed up, yeah, we're gonna get back into doing the Quran.
How long do you think that'll take? Because I think it
Didn't
took
we
me like
have
3.5
that
years.
comment?
I don't know, might be a year or something, or from now, I guess maybe 6 months ish. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, yeah, just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you're safe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't worry.
it's,
We criticize everyone.
They both do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I mean,
The,
what's
the
it called
Christians and the
again?
Muslims both do this. How come you're not criticizing them?
Right, yeah.
It's like
I think
children.
was it like what's the Christianity that's like the problem one in America?
sorry?
The
Evangelicals are just
Ugh.
Islamists with pork and light beer.
Yeah, bad beer, not good beer. They don't even have the decency
Which
to be
reminds
monsters
me,
with good beer.
when I was in the United Arab Emirates, these people took me out to we're going four-wheeling and a barbecue, basically, is what it was. So they're off-roading in the
Texas.
dunes. So I'm sitting in somebody's 4x4 as we like sail over the dunes, crash around it's the Sahara. Is it the Sahara? It's the Arabian desert, but it's still we're four-wheeling in the dunes. And they're doing shish kebab, which is their version of barbecue. And they're saying this is just like what you would have, in Texas, right? You're four-wheeling and a barbecue. And I'm like, well, yeah, except that there would be beer and women, and not everyone would be wearing white dresses.
I think those white robes look very comfortable and like they breathe well in the desert, which is very important. I appreciate the practicality of it. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a little bacon on my shish kebabs, and well, I would assume
I
that
think
if
the
they were
whole
going to
four-wheeling
have beer, they
barbecue
would
thing
have
would
better
have been
beer
better.
than Bud Light.
I think the whole barbecue and four-wheeling thing would have been better with beer and women. I'm just weird that way. But anyway, Bruno Zeigert's
Yeah, but you actually
6379.
like women.
Yeah,
What's
so
that?
It sounds better. It sounds better than Iraq and a goat.
I said you actually like women and even occasionally think that we are people, which is strange.
Okay, so Bruno Zeigert 6379 offers $5 Californian and says, think of flat earthers as flatheads.
They have a smooth brain. No ridges or lumps, valleys or bumps.
And then-
All smooth.
And then Jojo Freelancer KUP says, what are demons according to Job and Judaism?
Are demons mentioned in Job?
Good
Besides-
question.
No.
Jojo
I don't think-
Freelancer, this is going to be hard for us to get through. So please don't sidetrack us with other things.
Yeah.
It's very much not the Christian idea of demons. The devil here is like a prosecuting attorney, and it's Ha-Satan is more of a role than an individual. And there's no mention of
think-
like additional demons as their own entities in that way.
Well, not in the Bible, yeah. And
There is
the
no,
late-
Not
actually
Job
there are
specifically.
Jewish
there are, but
terminology
not-
is very similar to Islamic. Like, if you think of like jinns as being these beings of fire that could be bad, could be not good, and if you know their name, you have power over them. All that stuff has, I think, Islam took directly from Jewish folklore that had already existed at the time.
Fair enough.
Like that's kind of how they saw, and how a lot of Jews still think of demons. Although some also believe in like invisible demons that are everywhere, like the force you feel when you move is because your body is moving through like piles and piles of tiny little demons and stuff. So, yes.
Well, tell them I could use a back massage.
I saw recently there's like this crystal with a little black figurine inside it, and it's supposed to be a demon, and it's like, don't melt it because they're listening or something, and it's like, why do people think this is real?
I mean, this is the thing. It's if you want to play pretend and have ghost stories and have fun, please do. Become part of a fandom. Start LARPing if you want, but stop expecting the rest of us to pretend we're possessed by your imaginary enemy.
Okay, enough time.
Okay, on 19, Clines comments, quote, light and darkness are elements that have existed since the creation, independently of the heavenly bodies, so also in Genesis 1. Darkness is regarded as not merely the absence of light, but an entity in its own right. As is already suggested by 2610, light and darkness alternate as day and night in the same physical space. But in addition, there appears to be beyond the horizon a permanent area of darkness, with a boundary, tahlit, separating it from the region of light. It is likely that light and darkness are conceived of as inhabiting the same dwelling, using it in turns, according to De Wilde, as is depicted in Hesiod, Theogony 745-57, where night and day greet one another as they cross one another's path at the door of their house. Quote, one is always outside the house, passing over the earth, while the other stays at home and waits until the time of its journeying comes. End quote. The home of night and day will be in the east, since daylight obviously comes in from the east, and darkness likewise creeps over the earth from the east, against Hartley. Pope says simply, quote, light and darkness were separated on the first day of creation, and thus have different abodes, end quote. But it is not clear that the author of Job was thinking of Genesis 1.
He literally didn't know where the sun went at night.
No. But it is time sharing. The sun is time sharing with the night. So
Can you show me
they
where
switch off.
darkness dwells? So this God is he's so insecure that he has to challenge Job. Look, just because I've been a complete dick to you and killed all your kids and did all this stupid shit and made you question your faith, now I'm going to be a shit even further and ask you a bunch of stupid questions that only reveal how stupid I am because you didn't believe in my bullshit.
Well, even he believed. He just, he had the audacity to point out an inconsistency, and we can't have that.
Yeah. Do you know how I mounted the firmament on the flat earth? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. On verse 22, Habel writes that snow and hail are portrayed as commodities stored in vast celestial arsenal, ready for divine use in times of adversity and war, as we see in 37:9, Deuteronomy 28:12, and Jeremiah 10:13. While hail may fall at times of extreme cold, it may also be employed by Yahweh as a weapon in holy war, as we see in Joshua 10:11 and Isaiah 30:30. Kimchi took the vaults of snow and hail to be from the earth, based on Psalms 148:7 and 8. Quote, praise the Lord, O you who are on earth, O sea monsters and ocean depths, fire and hail, snow and smoke, end quote. And writes that the hail are large stones, as we see in Joshua 10:11. On 23, several traditionals like Rashin Kara took the reference to the day of war and battle for the war of Gog and Magog, as we see in Ezekiel 38:39. Nachmanides, however, rejects this because he did not consider Job an Israelite, and so couldn't prophesy about this. Targum reads, the snow which I have reserved for the time of trouble in Gehenna, and the hail for the days of the war of Pharaoh and the fight of the Egyptians.
You wouldn't say that he can't prophesy against
prophesy. Yes, prophesy. Sorry. I don't care.
Lord, Tomer, understand you are multilingual and I am not. So my ribbing you is kind of insulting to me too, if that helps at all.
No, it just shows how dumb English is. One time it can be prophecy, but one time it's going to be prophesy. Because of course.
You know, it's as consistent as Christianity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, on 24. What is the way to the place where the lightning is dispersed? Hebrew for lightning is ol, which is the usual word for light. The reading light rendition is attested in Vulgate, KJV, RSV, and most traditionals, though Ibn Ezra and Kimchi note that some took the reference to rain. Hakham explains that this refers to the path by which the light is divided, noting that Rashi explained that the expression divided is used because the light of the sun shines here and there, like the horns of a ram. However, modern commentators write that the reference to light here doesn't seem to fit the context, especially considering the apparent awkwardness of the parallelism between Or and Kadim, east wind. Tur-Sinai writes that Or refers to the west wind and is cognated with Akkadian Amuru and Aramaic Uraya. This reading is also favored by Hartley, who writes that Tur-Sinai's suggestion gives the line the best balance. Dorm suggested reading Ed, mists, compares Septuagint hoarfrost, and Driver vocalizes to Ur, heat, citing an Arabic parallel. This reading is favored by Clines, since the question becomes one about the storehouse of heat, which is spread across the earth by the hot Sirocco. Gordy suggested that all means air currents, comparing it with Greek air. Habel writes that the word Ur means lightning in 37, I think it's 37:11, where the same motif of scattering is also employed. He writes that this sense is quite appropriate in view of the reference to thunderstorms in verse 25. On 25 through 27, Habel comments, quote, "Thunderstorms might appear to be wild, uncontrolled meteorological happenings. Torrential rains are not a sudden lack of divine control, but forces directed along celestial channels. Te'ala. In a parallel passage in 28:26, rain is said to have a rule, chok, to be followed. Both passages thereby emphasize the principle of cosmic order. In the flood account, the waters of the celestial ocean fall through a great window or sluice gate in the sky, as we see in Genesis 7:11. The significance of rainstorms here, however, lies not only in their controlled release of moisture, but in their beneficial distribution over regions uninhabited by mortals. Job may know something about storms in his homeland, but he is ignorant of the way Yahweh supplies waters to the wastelands of earth. Job had alleged that God in his wisdom, chokhmah, and design or counsel, etzah, in 12:13, withheld or released celestial waters for destructive rather than salutary purposes, as we see in 12:15. Yahweh responds by pointing to his blessing of fresh grass as a mark of his unsolicited goodness, even in the most unhospitable regions of earth. In his preoccupation with disasters, Job has been blind to the abundance of God's grace."
Well, that's one way to put it.
On 28, Clines writes that Yahweh gives Job a rhetorical question regarding the arrangement of the natural order. Yahweh does not mean that it is he who is the father of the rain, but that the rain, along with all the other forms of moisture, has no mythological father or mother, being nothing but the product of divine acts. He notes that Wybray already pointed out that the language of begetting and birthing, of father and mother, reflects an older theogony, in which these phenomena were seen as the offspring of divine unions. He writes that while Jeremiah 14:22 denies the ability of foreign gods to bring rain, here there is no polemic against foreign gods, but a resistance to any idea that these beneficent features of the world were brought into being once and for all in a primordial time, as the language of begetting and childbearing might suggest. On 30, Clines comments, quote, "It is perhaps suggested that the ice that forms on water is no different from the frost that settles on solid objects. The frost is normally a white deposit, but its effect on water is another matter. There it hardens what it falls upon, an extreme example of the workings of frost. We have heard before of the wadis that become dark with ice in 616, so the formation of ice is a phenomena well known to the poet. But if the deep to home here means the ocean, there will be no freezing of its surface anywhere near the author's home. It is more than, quote, interesting to ask where our author traveled to observe freezing on such a grand scale, end quote, according to Anderson. Although, of course, he did not need to have first-hand acquaintance with everything he wrote about. Much more probably, the term deep does not refer to the sea, but is used loosely for pools of fresh water, so too Sikadias. In 4132, which is 24 in the Masoretic text, it appears to be in reference to a river or lake.
There are deep lakes in the world.
On 31 through 33, Hartley writes that many of the ancients thought that the movements of the stars forecast the weather and influenced earthly affairs. He writes that this belief was much stronger in societies for whom the myths of the gods were a living reality. In Israel, however, these heavenly bodies were not thought of as gods, but as powerful forces completely subordinate to God's command. Although most of the described constellations are generally identifiable, like Kima, which is Pleiades, Xil as Orion, and Aish as the Great Bear, the reference to Mazzaroth, the constellations in the NIV, is unclear. Septuagint and Theodotion takes Mazzaroth as a proper name. Vulgate reads Lucifer, which Hartley notes as is a name for Venus equivalent to Mazharot, the Shining One. Traditionals read Mazzaroth as Mazzalot, referring to the constellations and stars in general. Clines notes 10 possible identifications to Mazzaroth, including Corona Borealis, according to Dorm, the Zodiac, according to Dum, Moffat, and Driver, the Guard, according to Tur-Sinai, comparing Akkadian Matsartu, and the planets, according to Hallett and Hartley, and Girdle, according to Gordis, allowing for the elision of the Aleph in the Masoretic text, and thus Ma'azaroth, etc. Clines, however, prefers retaining Mazzaroth since the identification of the term is so uncertain.
Fair enough. It's still hilarious that a woman on the internet tried to humble me by asking me if I could bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades. And I had to point out that the Pleiades were an open star cluster, which meant she was asking me to use astrology, which was ridiculous and also apparently against her beliefs. So maybe think before you quote Job.
So the identification of Kima with Pleiades and Casil with Orion is it literally just based on their names and the way they're used in the Bible? So, for example, Kima sounds like uh, like Kamea, which means like 100, because there's so many stars in this little cluster. It's like 100 stars, and therefore it's called that. And therefore we
Kamehameha.
know they're talking. And Pleiades has lots of stars, so they must be talking about Pleiades. Also, Pleiades was actually very well known in ancient times. It was very easy to see.
But all
And
over the
lots of
world, all over the
all over the
world,
world,
I think
cultures.
even the
Yeah.
indigenous peoples of the Americas used the Pleiades cluster as a test for how good your long distance sight was. You know, how many stars can you see with the naked eye? If you can only see a couple, great. If you can see the average number, if you can see more, then you might be, you know, good material for a scout. Like
Well,
that's a skill issue, and it was a good
Yeah.
test for
I mean,
distance
yeah.
vision and clarity.
I wouldn't let this woman who's trying to insult you intimidate you. I mean, what more can you expect from her? She's Sagittarius.
Don't insult the Sagittarius, my darling.
other-
Although it's cute. You think I could be intimidated? That's adorable.
The other one is Casil is identified with Orion because this verse itself says, you know, undo the reins of Orion, like the straps of Orion, and Orion has a belt. Like I don't know, like Tom, do you have like a scholarly view of why? How do we know that Casil is referring to Orion? Or
I think
maybe
I think we've talked about this because Xil was already mentioned in like 9:9 and Orion and Xil.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there is this thing about the hot and cold, like that. Kima is like this freezing thing. There is like a Talmudic story about to cause the flood, God removed 2 stars from this constellation or this star cluster to caused the melting of stuff, and then that's why the flood happened. And in the future, God will return the stars to her.
Yeah,
And
coincidentally, when you talk about freezing, to where I live right now, the high temperature is freezing.
that's
Yeah,
That's
so
fine. You barely even need a coat for that.
so
I
regarding
think it's like 9 degrees here, which is I don't know how much that is in freedom units.
I
Whatever.
mean,
Yeah, and Kiss.
when it comes to Xil and Kima, I mean, the
Yeah.
Clines notes in 9.9 that like for Kima, it is agreed to be Pleiades. These are groups of 7 stars mentioned also in 38:31 and Amos 5:8. In classical mythology, the Pleiades was pursued by the hunter Orion until the gods changed them into doves and set them among the stars. The 3 constellations, the Bear, the Orion, and the Pleiades, were well known to the Greeks, also in early times, partly no doubt because of their conspicuousness, and partly because their risings and settings marked the seasons. And when
So-
Casil, sorry,
I'm saying so these constellations are like Mesopotamian like inventions that the Greeks kind of inherited. And that's why they use
Yeah,
the same naming system. And
you
because
could
like constellations
say
are
that, yeah.
arbitrary. It's not you can't be like it's not obvious that Orion is
They're
a
somewhat
hunter or a
arbitrary,
person.
but like the Big
Yeah.
Dipper usually is grouped together. It may be a bear and their cubs. It may be a spoon, but it's
Yeah,
often you will see certain groupings noticed, and Orion appears to be one that does give that vibe. Although I still think it's a little odd to be asking to undo his belt because I'm not going to give a constellation a blowjob.
Somebody said that it in the chat that it's 6 degrees centigrade in Calgary. Why is it
Oh,
warmer in Calgary than in
Yeah.
Texas?
Wow. Wasn't it the coldest
Calgary's
place
on the
Earth,
prairies,
like,
and the prairies.
last week?
Oh yeah. Here's the thing about the prairies. There are no mountains to shield. So the weather, and I cannot overstate this, does not give a single fuck. You can have a Chinook where you're out in shorts, and then you can have a blizzard where the snow is up to your tits and you open the door and you're like, nope, no, I don't
Yeah,
I don't even have a way to shovel out to my car.
I like Canada. I do. I've been to Calgary a few times though, and Calgary's just flat and boring.
Oh, it's not nearly as flat as Saskatchewan. But yes, that's
sorry.
why I live in British Columbia with the big mountains and all of the cool little bikers. But there's some cool stuff in Calgary too, and they're not too far away. And Banff is technically Alberta. And that's really nice.
I got really lucky when I was doing a tour, and I was supposed to catch this connecting flight. I can't. What was it, from Edmonton to Calgary, or I can't remember what it was, but the flight didn't go through. That there was a cancellation. I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to make it? And some guy had like a 1962 Mooney.
Yes.
I'm like, well, I can take you in my tiny little plane if your bags are really light and you don't have it. Okay. I got to fly in a night. It was adorable. It was such a tiny little aircraft and so pretty, and just like
Aww.
it was like going through the sky in a 57 Corvette Roadster. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the Canadian way. You just get her done.
Yeah. I wish that there were mountains around so that I have a better view, because it was just awfully flat. You know, you get 200 feet up in the air and the world just becomes a flat map. But yeah, I would like to see a little bit of topography. But I was very, very happy that the guy could afford me this trip like that. It was great fun.
That's really cool.
That's very kind of him.
Yes.
Yeah. So, who was it who said that this section is about the weather? And I think that is what it's trying to say.
I mean,
right?
yeah. So
That because
Yeah.
Kimar was associated with cold and Casil or the Orion was associated with heat, and it's almost like God would tie the cords to Pleiades to stop all that cold coming out and destroying the earth, and it's heat holding back the reins of Orion is holding back the heat from destroying the earth. So It's just like God is like controlling how much heat and how much cold there is using these constellations. It's got nothing to do with gravitational pull or whatever that people want to try and say. You know.
Yeah. So Clines notes that G.R. Driver may well be correct in seeing here the seasonal influence of the stars. The Pleiades are the harbingers of spring, and Orion is the herald of winter. To bind the Pleiades would thus be functionally to check the spring floods that they unleash, and to loose Orion's belts would be to disable the autumn rains. De Wilde, on the other hand, following by Newsom, thinks the binding of the Pleiades refers to their becoming invisible at the beginning of April, when the rainy season is over and the hot season begins. When Orion's belt is loosed, it is from early July onward, when his arrows of heat and dryness have been discharged over the earth. Whatever the precise reference of binding the Pleiades and loosing the Orion may be, the point is that Job cannot alter the structure of the cosmos. The functions of the constellations are a matter of divine decree, in verse 33.
Right, but
I
it's
find
a
it
modern.
interesting that they speak as though the constellations are causing these things to happen, as opposed to simply marking the seasons wherein these things occur.
Well, I mean, if you say that you're tying the chords of the weather that happens of the time of this constellation, that makes a little bit more sense.
Mhm.
Like the rains of this season or the heat of this season.
Right.
It's not coming from the constellation. The constellation marks that time, and then can you hold
Mhm.
back the weather that is
But
associated?
a lot of people
correlated?
do seem to, consciously or unconsciously, seem to speak as though it's the stars that are causing these things. It's like, no, the stars are indicators of the passage of time and the marking of the seasons, and the seasons do
Yeah,
whatever
it's
it
like the
is that
clock
they do in
causes.
their.
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
clock doesn't
It's like
cause
the
lunch.
canary in the coal mine. The canary brought the gas. No, the canary did not. It just warned you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It
Correlation
should
does not imply causation.
So it should also be noted that Clines also notes that there is some evidence that in some parts of the ancient world, the stars were thought to be suspended from the sky with cords, which could be used also to move them around. Compare Keel, symbolism figure 239, and for later Arabic thought, etc. This does not, however, appear to be the idea here. Hartley suggests that the stars were believed to be restrained by chains, and that each day God would loosen their cords so that they could make their journey across the sky. Hakham, however, I think it's Hakham, thought that when a constellation rises, it is harnessed to its course, and when it sets, the harness is loosed.
Because obviously we know that when a star or sets, it's not moving anymore.
Yeah. It's only moving when you look at it. It's like the opposite of the angels in Doctor Who.
It's just like underneath the earth, right? There's no humans there. It's nothing's happening there. They take the stars off the chains that hold them in the air, and then they put them on the little mining carts to send them to the other side for morning. Through the gates of death.
Oh, if it wasn't for religious literalists, this wouldn't be so funny, because these are cute mythological terminologies and ways to talk about, like, if you were telling a story to a small child, this would totally be a way to do it. Ooh, then they escape, and then they travel across the sky. Like, this is nursery rhyme shit, and it's adorable in that context. But then someone has to go and insist that everything should be taken literally, and that it's proof of God's knowing stuff that you have to contort yourself into believing. It's ridiculous. I swear, honestly, Christians make the Bible dumber than it is.
Yeah, it's a nice turn of phrase, can you conduct the bear with her sons, referring to, some star and the stars nearby or whatever.
I like that. Somebody commented that God was really stupid. That is the impression that Job 38 gives.
I
Okay.
can't argue.
Just Job 38, Arn?
Job 38 especially, because God is such a moron. Don't you know that I store snow in storeroom? right? That I keep lightning bolts in an arsenal by my side. Absurdities. Were you there when I laid the foundations of a disc world that doesn't exist? So I'm revealing how I don't know how God doesn't know how anything really works, but he's making fun of Job.
Yeah. That's kind
Okay.
of par for the course.
And then, so
sorry.
we have Danger Man, 1973, offers $1.99. Thank you. Says, are there any female angels in the Bible?
No, I don't think there are.
No.
I don't think
There
there
isn't
are.
really like sex to angels that much in the Bible, but
Yeah.
when they do
Well,
appear
yeah,
as
but then
human,
how would they
are
be
shown.
circumcised?
They
I don't know if
aren't.
that's in the. I don't know if that's in the Bible.
I don't think it
No,
is.
no.
I mean, there is like Bnei HaElohim.
It's
But-
it's
Right.
not that.
But it's-
So what I was talking about was in Jubilees.
Ah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, later
interesting.
tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean when they appear
enough.
as human, they appear as men, and every time they see an angel as in the shape of a man. But I don't know if it I don't think necessarily like demonology or angelology necessarily treat angels as being male or female in the same sense as humans.
In 1987,
No, probably not.
in 1987, there was a movie called Date with an Angel starring Emmanuel Bart and Phoebe Cates. That character does not exist in the Bible, so I am not religious.
Valid, honestly.
Okay, on 34 and 35, Habel comments, quote, Job is now challenged to implement his knowledge of heaven's laws by commanding a thunderstorm to flood the earth. Elihu had dwelt extensively on the power and function of God's voice or thunder, kol, in his manipulation of the weather, as we see in 36, 27 through 33. Job's puny voice, however, cannot match the majesty of God's thunder in the control of meteorological forces. These forces are sometimes portrayed as celestial messengers dispatched from the council of heaven. Compare verse 12 in Psalms 104, 3 and 4. Here, Job is also challenged to dispatch, shalach, lightning as a messenger on a divine mission, as in Psalms 18:15, which is 14 in the Old Testament. Were Job able to address this messenger in the council of heaven, he could have responded as did Isaiah in Isaiah 6:9, quote, here I am, that is, I am ready to do your bidding, end quote. That response would demonstrate Job's capacity to control the weather in accordance with the principles of cosmic wisdom.
Wisdom, are we calling it?
Capital W, wisdom, yes.
Yeah, the one who built her house.
Yeah. The wisdom appears to be just the ability to bully things into doing what you want. Gonna be honest, not the way I would prefer to use that term.
Okay, on 36, the words tuchot and sechvi, translated in NIV as ibis and rooster, are of uncertain etymology and meaning. Septuagint takes tuchot to refer to women and sechvi as embroidery, reading, who gave to women skill in weaving or knowledge of embroidery. Vulgate renders tuchot as the heart of man, which Habel notes seems to fit the sense of this word in Psalms 51:8, which is 6 in the Old Testament. Clines notes 10 interpretations for tuchot and 13 for sechvi. One such interpretation, given by Hoffman and Pope, is that tuchot is a reference to Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, and sechvi is the Coptic name for the planet Mercury. But Habel writes that an overt reference to Egyptian deities seems foreign to the monotheistic character of the Book of Job. Following Kisane, he prefers reading sechvi as suki, my booth or pavilion, as we see in Lamentations 2:6, which then refers to the cloud cover of the gathering storm which forms God's tent. The parallel tuchot, therefore, is linked to the verb tavach, cover, and thus means cloud cover or canopy. Clines prefers taking tuchot and sechvi as types of birds, mainly the ibis and rooster. He explains that the ibis was famous in antiquity for its ability to foretell the rising of the Nile, being a symbol of the Egyptian god of wisdom, and the rooster was believed to have the ability to forecast the rain. He writes that these birds, which are considered the heralds of the rain and of the rising waters, have a wisdom, chokhmah, and intelligence, binah, greater than the ordinary, implanted in them by Yahweh. The reading ibis and rooster is accepted by most modern commentators. Other interesting interpretations include Targum and most traditionals, which reads, who have placed wisdom in the kidneys, or who has given understanding to the heart. Dam imens tuchot to tavot, spiders. Tur-Sinai thought that tuchot is a word for bird, specifically one that flies high, from Arabic tawachi. Federici thought that it might be massive rock, comparing sukkah, thicket or boot, and says that certain rocks signal the imminence of rain or of a dry season.
Wisdom is in the kidneys.
Yeah, that's something that is common, like I think in Judaism, that specifically the reference to the kidneys is very prominent.
It's probably, I think it's Platoism, isn't it? Like the four humors and which part of the body they come from.
I don't
and what
remember.
motion.
No, the four humors are blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile.
Mhm.
Black bile comes from the liver, and yellow bile comes from,
The spleen.
yeah, I think the
Yeah,
spleen.
so
Yeah, spleen, definitely spleen.
So it doesn't match.
should do it like this.
You know what the liver does?
Not from my record.
It delivers.
It
Hand-
lives. Then guess what? You can't live without it.
Yeah. So
That's true.
Hakham,
And it handles all the alcohol you have to drink to deal with the current world events.
Well, mine is
Let's-
especially powerful.
It allows us
Ha-
to be lively.
Hakham notes that according to the interpretation, the word is related to tiach, plaster, and refers to organs that are coated with fat. Other interpretations of others interpret tuchot as the name of a kind of bird, and then he has to the cock for sechvi. Very, very good.
Which verse are you on?
Sechvi, 36, I think.
Oh, 36.
Yeah,
The
because
hidden
sechvi is,
parts.
I think sechvi is used for a type of bird in modern Hebrew.
Oh.
But I forgot which bird
Okay.
is it.
I know this.
It's
Where
tetrao.
is this?
Tetrao.
It's also there's a prayer that the Orthodox Jews say. I think it's whenever they go to toilet. Afterwards, they say like a blessing almost, and part of that is it mentions la sechvi vina, gives understanding to the kidneys or whatever it's supposed to be.
So
Oh, that's
Yeah, it's like a
interesting.
thing about, it's like a blessing that says like, the body is wonderful. If something were to go wrong with any of your digestion, like it would be really bad. or
it's the
something like
morning
that.
benediction. It's the morning benediction, which
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice liver. Be
Um,
a shame if something were to happen to it.
So yeah, Chacham notes that according to if tuchot is a kind of bird, then sechvi must mean a cock. I hate this word. Regarding the latter interpretation, the rabbis supported from the.
Is it just me? I mean, why is Tomer seems like a whole lot quieter than everybody else?
No, no,
Oh,
because,
okay.
because
I
my,
was
my
completely
microphone.
wrong. It wasn't that. It's a separate. It's just a blessing by
It-
itself that says, "Who gave blessed be he who gave not gave wisdom to the cock to differentiate between day and night."
Okay, I don't know if you
so-
heard everything I said, Isaac. Am I muted? Let me make sure.
No,
I'm
you're
muted.
not muted.
No,
You're not
no.
muted. It says it just
I
that
said,
it's hard for
I
me.
said that Tomer was way quieter than everybody else, and you said something along the lines of "that's a blessing in itself."
I'm done.
Oh, that's some
Goodbye.
fun
Good night.
timing.
Bye.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tomer, come back. That was just timing. You know, these things happen.
Lawrence,
No,
what does
because it's hard to read from Chacham's commentary and like position my mic directly. So, but he does note
Fair
that
enough.
many halachic authorities wrote that sechvi in that blessing, i.e. the morning benediction, which reads, "Who gives or gave the cock understanding," Berachot 60b and Orach Chaim 46, wrote that the Sechvi in that blessing means heart. As seen Talmid Rabbeinu Yoma, Rosh and Tur and Midrash and Mishnah Berura. However, the literal meaning of the Gemara is probably that Sechvi means cock. It is possible that the meaning of the halachic authorities was that even those who interpret Sechvi in the Bible as heart are required to recite that blessing. The verse in Job does not explain what the wisdom of the cock is. The common form of the blessing. Okay, it goes along. It's quite a long note, so I'm not going to read that. But it's interesting.
I admit I've heard many things of the cock, but not that it was a source of wisdom.
I mean, the blessing is just like, how does a rooster know the difference between day and night? But that's a later thing that was built on the idea that this word is referring to a bird. Someone in the comments asked Lawrence if he knows what the word chokhmah means in Russian.
If it's the slang term that they're referring to, then yeah.
Yeah, it means like a joke or something, right?
No, that's shutka.
So what is it? So what does it mean?
The thing is, I don't usually use that.
Apparently, there is a Russian word that's pronounced like chokhmah, and it literally comes from the Hebrew or Yiddish, meaning wisdom, but it means joke or something like that. I don't know if this is the same one.
They might be thinking of. Hold on, I'm not even sure if I'm thinking of the same one.
Oh, okay.
I have to check.
That's okay.
But if it's the slang term, then yes.
Yeah. Oh, but he probably was talking about the one that you're talking about then.
Because joke is just a shutka.
Yeah, and I'm saying it's like it comes from the Hebrew, but it means like a joke, a gag, a funny story. But maybe it's changed again in slang to be something.
No,
else.
yeah, I'm thinking of hui, which is dick. So no, I don't know.
Okay. Me who asked it.
Can I continue, or are you busy with the?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. On 37 and 38, Clines writes that a water jar, nevel, is normally a ceramic amphora with 2 or 4 handles and a narrow neck, and may be used for storage of wine, as we see in 1 Samuel 1:24, 10:3, 2 Samuel 16:1, etc., or oil. He writes that in order to bring rain to the earth, Yahweh first disperses Sepher, the clouds, over the surface of the earth. Excuse me? Oh, the cat. I see. Yahweh first.
No, I'm just enjoying. That is a very happy cat.
So Yahweh first disperses Sepher, the clouds, over the surface of the earth, and then tilts shachav, these containers or water jars, so that their contents spill out and fall on the earth. He also notes that what's described in verse 38 is either the agglomeration of the dust into a compact mass by the rain, according to Dam, Dorn, Kisane, and Habel, or the dry clods of earth prior to the comings of the rains, as we see in Budd, Forer, Pope, and Hartley. Perhaps with reference to the standard phrase, the heavens brass and the earth iron, as we see in Deuteronomy 28:23 and Leviticus 26:19. He writes that the former is more suitable to the verb flow or fuse, yatzak, which happens as a result of the rain. On 39 and 40, Hartley comments, quote, "The lioness terrifies mankind. The lion serves as a metaphor for the wicked throughout the Old Testament. For example, Psalm 7:3, which is 2, 10, 9 and 10, and 17:12. Her loud growling sends chills throughout a town. In ancient thought, the people drew a close parallel between wild animals and their enemies. For example, Ashurbanipal describes his hunting expedition for wild game, especially the lion, both as a fight against a powerful enemy and as a fight against the powers of chaos. But Yahweh provides prey for this stout beast and sees that she had an adequate supply to feed her whelps. The lioness usually makes her den among thickets, like the thick brush growing along the banks of the Jordan, for they offer her good protection and afford an excellent ambush, areb, where she may lie in wait for some unsuspecting prey. And
I mean, it
finally,
doesn't mention lionesses in the verse, right?
Teref, like lioness in like female lion or
Teref is a female lion.
Teref. I mean, you have it. Lavi, sorry, Lavi.
Lavi is considered a female lion. Oh, okay.
It
I mean, all
depends.
the verbs are in masculine, no?
Wait.
In all of these questions that God is posing to Job,
Mm.
they're completely irrelevant. It's not just that
Yeah.
half of them are utter nonsense. If a God really existed, if there really was a God, he would not have said any of this shit to Job. None of it. If there really was a God, this whole conversation would not have happened.
Yeah, it's just like I know you don't. I'm big, you're small.
Exactly.
I'm smart, you're dumb, and there's
So
nothing you can do
it
about it.
bothers me that people know that. They know that God would not say all this stupid shit. Even the few things that we can't just completely ridicule for being so goddamn dumb.
Ah, I see.
Because God wouldn't have said this other shit either. There's no reason to. But yet they believe it anyway, which confuses me.
Some people
Clines
refer
notes,
to it as the gift of faith.
Arn, I think you're
So-
forgetting
Hello,
that most of these people are homeschooled.
So Clines notes that lion, Lavi, so he writes that Lavi is clearly lion, as we see in BDB Dictionary and Dumb, but not all agree that it is specifically lioness, as seen Halot, Mofat, Dorm, Kisane, Pope, Guillaume, Hartley, and Good, and also NAB, JB, NIV, and NEB. The interpretation lioness goes back at least to Samuel Bocart. So
It's like it almost feels like this specific verb verse is like saying like God's like, oh, how do you, no one knows how lions get their food. We just see them lie around all day. No one knows where the food comes from. Yes, we do. The female lions are the ones feeding him, but
Yeah.
God seems to take credit in this.
Well, I guess
And-
that
sorry.
would actually make sense for his MO to make women take care of useless men that were a symbol of his power and had no other function, and offload all the emotional and physical and mental labor off onto us, but then take credit for it himself. Yeah, that's kind of that's a theme.
And finally, on 41, Clines comments, quote, the connection with the lion in verses 39 and 40, if one is to be sought, will probably be not so much that both are carnivorous, so Dorm and Kisane, but that both, whether huge or small, need to hunt to feed their young. There is a striking contrast between the fearsomeness and savagery of the mighty lion and the comparative harmlessness of the quite small raven. It should not be forgotten that the raven is ritually unclean, as we see in Leviticus 11:15 and Deuteronomy 14:14. But Yahweh's provision of food transcends ritual law. The raven eats fruit, grain, insects, eggs, small birds. It does not capture its prey, but feeds on carcasses. A family of ravens include 3 to 6 young. The parents take great care with their young, rarely leaving them alone. This contrasts with the popular ancient belief that ravens hate their young. According to Tur-Sinai, Pliny, Natural History 10:1531, says they drive their young out of their nests. A patristic interpretation was that God feeds the young of the ravens with dew, according to Chrysostom, Gregory, and Isidore. But of course, as everywhere in this speech, the activity of God does not supplant the natural processes, but rather lies behind them. It remains the parents of the young birds that feed them.
Do you want to read the Rashi on that verse?
Yeah, I should probably. Maybe it's hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
They wander for lack of food, for their own fathers hate them, and the Holy One, blessed be he, prepares gnats for them, which are created from their dung, and they enter their mouths.
Lovely.
Oh,
Thank you, Rashi.
You're welcome.
what the?
Yeah, it stays
Oh my-
crunchy even in milk.
Excuse me. This turned into Goofy for a second there. God is very benevolent.
Yes, he makes gnats out of their dung for them to eat because their parents hate them. Okay. There are no
Rashi lives
words.
before
I'm-
the law of whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, now
Biogenesis.
just as Lawrence had done a video on the flat Earth, which everybody should see, because you know that conversation is going to come up at some point. I also did a video on these two chapters of an atheist reading how God responded to Job as if God is responding to an atheist. So
Mhm.
Peter, if you would share that link, if anybody wants to see that, I'm kind of proud of that one. I had fun with it. I probably get more comment in that video than we're going to get out of this because time. We've taken over 2 hours for one chapter. So
This is the pinnacle, though. This is where, like, this entire book has been building to the God breaks out in dramatic speech and glitter bombs
and
us.
the shit that is still upcoming has me so excited that I'm down for it. If it takes us, if we don't do anything more than one more chapter, that's fine. Lawrence, are you okay with that?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So, I mean, we can do 39 right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But first,
Oh, sorry.
How long is
But
that going to
first-
take?
Our what do the Christians say?
Oh.
Oh no. Can't we put out traps?
Guess who's talking about Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Guess who's talking about Jesus? It's the ancient Christians again.
Oh my gosh. I saw what Peter did.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. You did it last show.
It's AI. I didn't do
So,
Arn, this is
Or at
just
least
like court. Everything you do can be used against you. It's just like that.
Can and will.
It sure will.
okay, so for this, I just included everyone. Because I thought, okay, that would be interesting. So, the first part of God's speech, which brings the book of Job to its logical and natural conclusion, is commented upon the fathers along three main lines of interpretation: theological limitation, pastoral encouragement, and prophetic expectation. First, the intervention of God in his role as creator is an image and concrete representation of his divine power, which is presented in this manner to the imperfect and limited senses of humans, according to Chrysostom, Ishodad, Julian, and Philip. Or, by addressing Job directly with his words of encouragement, God demonstrates his benevolence toward the righteous and all those who want to repent, and his scorn for the hypocrite and the proud. According to Gregory, Chrysostom, Julian, Ishodad. There are two Julians, Julian of Eclanum and Julian of the Arian. Or, in God's words, there is the prophetic proclamation of Christ, the church, and the redemption of humankind, according to Gregory, Ephraim, and Philip. The Lord speaks in the form of questions, which are the best means to convince, according to Chrysostom. The single foundation of all things in the Lord himself, according to Gregory. The restlessness of the sea proclaims his power, according to Chrysostom. Formed from clay and adorned with the likeness of the divine image, having received the gift of reason, humanity forgets, when swelling with pride of heart, that it was formed of the basest materials. The human mind is unable to comprehend itself, like an obscure deep hidden from itself, according to Gregory. The course of human life is regulated by the alternation of times, according to Julian of Eclanum. Many who are counted as faithful hear the words of life with their ears, but do not permit them to pass through to the inward places of their heart, according to Gregory. Yes.
No
That's it.
comments on the comments?
Wait, I want to see Gregory, or at least
No, I
some of
was
the
asking the
prophetic-
panel.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised that it's not more interesting. I would have thought the Christians would have had something to say about the strangeness of this chapter, but they seem
So
to just ignore it.
Though I should note Ephraim here, who says that, and who created at the same time the morning stars? That is, those stars that also rise and appear in the evening. But in a different sense, we may intend, when we refer to these stars to these substances that are separated from our senses, their generation does not agree with the nature of angels. Therefore, we say that Christ is signified through the term morning, and the apostles through stars. And the teachers, sons of the angels, are defined as participants in the angelic nature.
Isn't the
Well,
morning
that's a version
star?
I haven't heard before.
Isn't the morning star also known as Lucifer?
In
also known
Vulgate.
as Venus.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah, but
Vulgate
yeah,
it is.
So, which makes you wonder how much different would the Bible have been written if somebody actually, and Job in particular, if somebody actually knew shit.
New?
Yeah, it's
It would be a
it
shorter
be
it would be a
very,
shorter
very difficult.
list of things that God can do.
Yeah.
That is
Were
very
you
true.
there before?
Very.
Were you there before the plank time?
Yeah, none of this shutting the sea with doors. Yeah, none of that happened. All right, so Darth Maul says, how do you know which parts of the Bible are meant to be symbolic, or if it's all supposed to be read literally and symbolism is just an excuse believers use? It is that symbolism is just an excuse that believers use.
I doubt it.
I
mean,
would say that there is scholarship. There are scholarly reasons to hold that this piece is intended poetically and metaphorically and so forth. But in practice, particularly on the internet with the people you're going to encounter, yeah, it's just excuse making.
Because I think it was Peter who pointed out that these biblical literalists are stupid.
I mean, they have
I mean,
they like this idea that truth is not what the facts are, but rather that the truth is something that like teaches you something.
Oh
You know
no,
what I
it was
mean?
Lawrence who said that flat earthers are idiots.
Yes, I did in fact say that.
I'm sure I've said that as well.
well,
And then
obviously.
Satan 616 says, FYI, bird chicks often make a fecal sac to be consumed by the parents to keep the nest clean and recycle nutrients.
Oh,
Ah,
well, how kind.
okay, all right.
Yes,
Makes
and modern
sense,
bird
right?
chicks use a disposable fecal sac.
I
Like,
don't
did you
need to
get-
know this. I'm okay not knowing this.
Nature sucks.
But only in the grossest way possible.
I wanted to do a video once upon a time just talk about how grotesque sex was across the animal kingdom, because there's some horrific shit in there, and I never made that video, and I didn't keep all the notes for it, but it was advised that I probably shouldn't do it because it was so repulsive.
Yeah, I
it's
think I'm,
likely not in line with any variation of the terms and conditions.
I imagine people like seeing the video and like, maybe it's best if we still be virgins. Maybe it's best.
Or the opposite. You could be and be like, this is so disgusting that all of the weird things I might have thought about human sex, I've like gone out the window. Now it's just such a normal thing. It's like nothing.
Yeah,
weird
all of
about
the
it at all.
intelligent design arguments go right away too. They're just Yeah,
Well,
wait.
I love the double stabbing sea slugs, where they're like
Well,
both
I'm
male
more
and
thinking
female,
about-
and if they both stab each other at the same time to inject the semen, like
How about in the I think it's the spotted hyena, where the females have a bigger dick than the
Pseudopenis.
males,
yeah, the pseudo penis.
and they have to chew off their clitoris in order to give birth.
Sounds fascinating.
There's an
Chew it off?
intelligent
I didn't know
design.
that.
Or after the Book of Mormon, I
well,
don't think anything can beat a tapir. Just
Yeah.
saying.
You gotta mention.
I remember a
ducks,
sadist
yeah.
can be intelligent. A sadist can be intelligent. Just
Mm.
sadist, you know.
And as Peter was pointing out, a tapir can be hentai.
What?
Oh, no. Look, Peter has already spent too much time on the internet. We
How
don't
is a
need to.
taper?
Hold
how is a
on.
taper
This wasn't me. You can blame Jimmy Snow for that. He brought that to the Book of Mormon with pictures.
Jesus, hentai
Oh, I
Christ.
see.
Yes,
I
and
guess
he
you
was
had-
referencing the fact that tapirs have four-headed tentacle peni.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, but so do echidna.
Yeah, I was gonna say like four-headed. Yeah, goodness.
Is it?
Yeah, lots of.
Am I confusing them? I know the echidna has the, but what is it? It's the prehensile.
It's prehensile.
Yeah, that's.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, dolphins.
I think the
also
elephant has that too because of the,
It's to make up for how
Bones, yeah.
short the trunk is on the front.
Hmm.
They put all the
backwards-
elephant
Sorry.
trunk bits on the pelvis.
Have you seen the Is it backwards elephants or backwards hippopotamuses video? Where they're like the little tail. We should talk about it next chapter actually.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
God.
to see if we can get through this one.
Yeah,
I have
do
I have
we-
5 pages of commentary. I don't know if that.
Oh my! Are we just going to do one chapter today?
I think we're gonna have to.
it's
We
not-
have to
it's
do a
not-
special.
Yeah.
I have to take my mom to the hospital.
Yeah. I was I think we might need to do a
Not
special.
like just a busted like toe. It's nothing
Yeah.
like nobody's dying, but
My dog ate my Word document.
Is
Which
there
is
any day this week that we could do a special?
I mean, I have to prepare for chapter 40 as well because that's where the behemoth is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's looking like we're going to be doing one chapter today.
Oh,
I've
You
got-
asked for it.
Wow.
Well,
I don't know.
looks like a lot of things changed since I've been gone.
Yeah, we were going to do 39, but Tomer wanted to go talk about mammal sex.
I'm not the one who brought that up. Are you gaslighting me, Oren?
okay. Well, I
Well-
can do any day next week except for Wednesday. Not
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh,
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
I think Tuesday for me
I
will
can't
be
do Friday.
best. But like again, I need to prepare the commentary for chapter 40, which is oh god.
Oh, you don't think 39
okay.
will take the whole time?
No, I'm
We can have a
talking
short
about
show and
40.
just do 39.
No,
Yeah,
but
we'll do 39 on Tuesday.
Can we do
Fine.
Tuesday,
Fine, we'll do 39 on Tuesday.
Lawrence?
I mean, yeah,
Fine.
Tuesday will be fine. Are we just gonna do 39 on Tuesday?
I have to prepare for 40. I don't know if I'll manage to do 40.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're just doing 39, it wouldn't be worth gathering us all
Yeah,
together.
that
on a
wouldn't-
week.
that
Oh,
wouldn't be
okay.
worth it.
Then. So what about
How long is
Thursday?
39? See.
It's like 30 verses.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I
but
see, it's
okay, well
fish.
then 40 is 24 verses. I know
yeah,
it's
but
Yeah,
it's
but there's-
behemoth.
yeah, but it's behemoth.
It's a
We're gonna have
behemoth
so much fun
chapter.
with behemoth.
Oh yes.
It's bigger than it looks.
If we had this much fun just mentioning tapirs,
I still think that that's mispronounced. It should be behemoth because it's irreducibly complex.
You have to have children to make dad
These
jokes, Peter.
Stupid.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
All right, so let's not do Tuesday. Let's go ahead and do it on Saturday, week from today.
Okay.
Job 39. Are we all good?
Yes.
We're all good.
Yep.
Well,
Excellent.
Saturday.
39
I'll get
it
extra pineapple on my pizza, so I make sure to carbo load so I have the energy.
I thought you were meaning to say something else.
Yeah,
No,
I
I just
want to thank my team of volunteers, and I promised I'll pay you twice as much next week.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
like 0.01%.
so
I
well,
thought
you
Torah-
know,
Torah, I thought you were the mathematician here.
Yeah.
you
should
should
know
know
that.
what times 0 is.
Times he said twice, right? I don't know.
Yeah, what's twice as much?
He'll
Times
pay us.
zero
He'll
is-
pay us
I
nothing twice
didn't
in a
pay
row.
attention. Fuck off.
The mathematician had
Oh,
to think about that for a
All right,
yeah,
well,
I
it's been a
can't
while.
help you on that one. You're never
These
going to live that down.
swines.
All right. Well, I've got a speech that I'm supposed to give in a little bit, so I guess we can go ahead and close it up.
Unless Lawrence has a
well-
speech to give.
I do have a speech to give. My speech to give is that
Close it
Peter
now. Close it now.
No. Make sure to join the Discord, the only Discord, the best Discord, and make sure to follow the Behold Network.
Behold.
Behold.
Behold!
I'm waiting for a behold from
Tomer?
Tomer, Isaac, and Peter.
Don't tell me what
Behold!
to do.
Behold.
Tomer,
Come on, Tomer.
Hold thy be.
I need a behold.
Hold.
And behold.
Close enough. He said be and hold. They were together somewhere. All right.